Hello class, and welcome to Notes 5.4a, Solving Equations Using Multiplication or Division. Our objective today is to solve equations involving direct variation, and those will be equations that we'll need to use inverse operations to solve. We only have two properties today. First, we have the multiplication property of equality, which is just like the addition and subtraction properties of equality, which just say that you can do the inverse operation, you can do the opposite. So if you see division, you can multiply each side of an equation by the same non-zero number, and it will produce an equivalent equation. So if I were to multiply both sides by 4, I'll still have an equivalent equation. The division property of equality says just the opposite. Dividing each side of an equation by the same non-zero number produces an equivalent equation. So I can do the opposite. As long as I do it to both sides, it will still come out with an equivalent equation. So in the example, I'm dividing both sides by 3, and it doesn't change anything. Let's go ahead and take a look at teacher example 1. Solve the equation using multiplication. I have t divided by 8 equals 6. Now, as we've talked about, t is the grumpy neighbor that doesn't want anyone hanging around. So we need to undo that division. Okay, so of course I want to draw my fence. So let's go ahead and bring over my fence. And it looks like I might need to extend it a bit. I always want to do that fence first. Now, as I was saying, we can undo that division with multiplication, multiplying each side by 8, using that multiplication property of equality. And now I can cross out my 8's. I've used them. This side, those are opposites. Dividing by 8 and multiplying by 8 cancel out. And I'm left on the left side with simply the grumpy old neighbor t. And on the right side, I've got 6 times 8. And of course I will have 48. Let's go ahead and move that over a little bit so you can see that. When I check my work, I need to take my solution of 48, plug it back in for t, and see if it works. 48 divided by 8 is 6. 6 does equal 6, so that solution checks out. Now let's take a look at the opposite effect. I have multiplication. I want to undo that by dividing. So I go ahead, I draw my fence. I divide both sides by negative 3 and 4/10 y. Now I can cancel out the two that were opposites, multiplication and division of the same number. On this side I'm left with y, and over here when I do 17 divided by negative 3 and 4/10, I end up with negative 5. I can go ahead and plug my solution into my original equation. 3 and 4/10 negative 3 and 4/10 times negative 5. Two negatives obviously are going to make that a positive, and I'm going to end up with 17.0, which of course is simply 17. Go ahead and try these out on your own. Student practice 1 and 2. Remember to draw your fence first. Whenever you see division, you want to undo it with multiplication. Whenever you see multiplication, you want to undo it with division. Go ahead and try them out. Okay, let's take a look and see how you did. Of course, I know you would never forget to draw your fence first. Then I see division. I want to undo that with multiplying both sides by 8. And I now have 112. I also need to cancel out the multiplication and division, and I have my answer. Problem number 2, draw my fence. And again, I'll extend that a little. Multiply both sides by 4 and 5/10. And remember, the fence always goes through the equal sign, so it doesn't matter where in the problem the equal sign is, you do need to put that fence where the equal sign is. Okay, problem 3, again, drawing my fence. Now, this time I see multiplication, so I need to undo it with division. Don't forget about your negative sign. You have to take care of both. Bring that negative with the 3 and 5/10. These cancel out. I'm left with the x. And over here, when I do that division, I'm left with -16. Watch out for those negatives. They will get you. You have to remember your same negative rules that we learned with integers. Okay, problem number 4, I've drawn my fence. I'm dividing both sides by 8. I can go ahead, cross out my 8. Sorry, this takes me just a minute. And I'm left with x equals 9. Okay, so hopefully you did well with all those steps. If you have any trouble, make sure you go back and check your work. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to teacher example, I should say 3, I apologize. Teacher example 3, write 48/100ths as a fraction. Now notice we've got the line over the 48, which means that 48/100ths is repeating. This should just be a quick review of our rhyme that we've used. When you see the line, remember the 9. So, first we're going to count the period of the repeating decimal. What the period means is how many digits are repeating. And in this case we have 2 digits repeating, so the period of the decimal is 2. That means I'm going to use my decimal in the numerator, and whatever my period is, that's how many 9s I'm going to use. So I'm going to have 2 9s. Okay, and then I want to simplify if possible. Sometimes I can't, but you always want to see if you can. And with repeating decimals, numbers can often be simplified by 3. So remember, if 99 can, you already know that, so try 48 and see if it can. Okay, so go ahead and try these out on your own. Remember, with that repeating decimal, you're looking for the period of repeating digits. Okay, welcome back. Problem number 5 has 1 digit repeating, 7/9. Problem number 6 has 2 digits repeating. Notice I don't need to write the 0 in front. It doesn't actually do anything, but it still counts as the digits repeating, so I still have to have those 2 9s. Problem number 7, 25/99. Careful on problem number 8. We've got that negative sign. We have to put that first. We have the whole number of 1s, that also goes in front, then 36/99. Hopefully you realize that is divisible by 3. So you can divisible by 9. You can divide both of them by 9, or you can divide it by 3 and then 3 again, and you'll end up with 4/11. So -1 and 4/11. Okay, hopefully you did all right with those. Go ahead and go on to the quiz. Do the best that you can. Make sure you check your answers before you submit them. Have a great day.